if you want to be creating reels on Instagram but don't always want to be dancing and pointing or talking to the camera, there are lots of cool ways that you can still create reels where you don't need to be doing that. And if you don't sell a product where you're like, well, I don't have a product that I could show off, so what else can I create? Well, today I'm going to share with you some ideas of kinds of reels that you can create that will still perform well without you having to point or dance or talk on camera, or if you don't have a product that you can show off. Here's some great ideas that you can create that can still perform really well. First of all is quote reels. Now, I tried to experiment with a quote reel over a year ago, but at that time those type of reels weren't so popular, but today those kind of reels are performing really well. And I noticed that the shift happened when Instagram changed all video into reels, because in the past people create things like memes or an animated quote graphic or any kind of video that they'd normally just put on their Instagram feed. So now people are thinking, well, if this is going to go into my Reels feed, then I need to adjust it to the Reels size. And so because of that, a lot of different kinds of Reels started to appear and started to become quite popular. And one of the main ones were quote reels. Now, back before the days of reels, quote graphics did really well on Instagram. And this is because everyone loves to share a good quote. It's something that's familiar and easily shareable, and it's encouraging, and people could share it to their stories and things like that. And it's just something that's very shareable and very relatable. And in particular is tweet quotes. The reason why creating a quote and then making it look like a tweet graphic is that tweets are very familiar. And there's other ways that we can create this familiarity. Things like making it look like it's written in notes or any kind of app that's really familiar to people. The idea of this is that when someone sees something that's familiar, they're more likely going to like it because we like things that are familiar to us. And also we're breaking down a barrier. It's not strange and we're unsure about it. And if someone comes across it and they don't know who you are, you're breaking down that barrier of, oh, who is this? What is this? You're adding that familiarity. So even though you're a stranger to them, you're adding this element of familiarity, and so they instantly feel slightly closer to you because they're like, oh, I recognize that, that's something familiar. And so before Reels came along, these kind of graphics performed really well. Now, when Reels came along, they obviously became the spotlight and the most important thing for growth and getting seen, and so people put less emphasis on these kind of quote graphics. But now we're seeing where they're sort of coming together as one, where we're creating quote graphic reels and they're actually performing quite well. Now, these are quite simple to make because you can make your regular tweet graphic and then just have a video background. Now, what people are finding is performing best is around the 7-second mark, because this means that people will watch it over and over again in order to have the time to actually read it. But then also, if you want to share it to your stories, it's not too short that people can't actually view the thing in your stories. So the 7-second mark tends to work well. And then you can also put any kind of trending audio over it. You don't have to think, well, how can I make a video that's going to go with this trending audio? You can just stick any kind of trending audio that is on brand for you, that's something that suits your own branding. Obviously, don't pick an audio that's completely different from everything else you do. But picking an audio that's currently performing well also suits your brand, and putting it on top, and then you're going to create something that's instantly going to do pretty well. Now, obviously it doesn't guarantee it's going to perform well, but it's something that you can put out really easily. So if you're like, oh, I need to create content, what can I do? Maybe you've got some old quote graphics and you can turn them into reels now. So you can repurpose old quote graphics, you can pull things from other content you've got, pull out some quotes and create these reels really easily. And it's a great way to stay consistent and keep making things and create something where you're not having to get on camera. Another one similar to this is notifications. So instead of a quote or a tweet quote, something like that, we're making it look like a notification. So this again plays on the familiarity. People are familiar with notifications, and these as graphics used to perform really well as a graphic, but now we can turn them into reels. And again, we can have that notification and then have a video background. Now you could use stock videos, you could use some spare video that you've got of yourself, you could just set up your camera and record you just doing some work. It doesn't have to be anything particularly really awesome or amazing. It can just be a nature video, it could be a video of you working, it could be a bit of brand video that you have lying around. Anything that you've got or anything that you feel suits your own brand style and feeling, you can put it in there, and it's a really easy way to make something that's going to be motivational and encouraging. So a notification one tends to be something where you're reminding your audience something. So it could be that you're giving some sort of motivational advice. you're encouraging your audience, or just reminding them something that they need to think about or keep in mind. So think about your audience, who they are, and the kind of message that you could give them to encourage them, inspire them, or push them along. Then we have lists. So this again, you can repurpose any kind of video you've got, whether you've got some brand video, a bit of video of you just working. You could even just set up the camera while you're making your coffee or doing your makeup or reading your emails. It's something fun where you can just use any kind of video you've got. If you want to, you can get more creative. Maybe you could, do video of you walking around a museum or, painting a picture. You could get really creative, use whatever kind of video you want. You can, take the time to create special video if you want to, or you can just use something that you've already got, or even just some stock video that suits your brand. Then what you want to do here is create a list. So the list could be different ways that you could do things, different things that you've achieved, or different things that are possible for someone else to achieve, a list of ideas, any kind of list. You layer that text of the list on top of the video, and then again, you make the video fairly short, so people are going to have to spend the time to read it. They might even have to pause it so they can go through that list. They're probably going to want to save one like this because your list is probably going to be fairly valuable and useful to them, that they're going to want to save that reel, keep it, and refer back to it. So it's a very useful reel, and it's also something that's quite easy for you to make. So you can go back through your content and reduce any kind of content you've got into a list. So if you've got a blog post, you could just pull the list of the main points from it. Or if you've created any other kind of content on Instagram in the past where you had a list, you can now turn it into a reel. So this is a really easy way to make a reel, and it can be really useful to your audience, and it can be quite engaging too, because they're reading the list and learning and getting value from that list, and then they're also fascinated by the video that's going on. So doing something like taking a video of you, working or, making your coffee, that's interesting as well, because seeing a little bit of a snippet of behind the scenes, or you could share more elements about your brand. So you're creating a bit of a connection with your brand as well as giving them some value. Then we have memes. So memes are one of those things that have always performed well on the internet, but now you could create a meme reel. So again, because Instagram changed all video into reels, this means that you now have to think about, if you make a meme, well, that's going to be a video on Instagram. So if it's now going to go into the reel feed, we want to make it the reel size. You want to make it that long reel size. And then you can get creative with it. You can just have a still background and have the meme moving on top, or you could layer it where you have a video background and then the meme on top. So it's one of those things where you can repurpose an old meme, you can create some new memes, and you can just get more creative with it. You could have a textured video background. Maybe it's just a bit of fabric moving in the wind, or a shadow, something really simple like that. Just make your meme more dynamic. Or you could just keep it really simple and have a simple colored background or textured background, and just have the focus on that meme video. Then we have the collage. So I recently shared a video on how you create these, and you can check that out here. This one is a really great way to use a photo shoot that you've done. So if you've got anything, we've got a series of photos, and in the past on Instagram, you would have shared that as a series of photos on Instagram, or you would have made a carousel of images, things like that. But you realize, well, photos don't perform so well on Instagram these days. Well, you can create a collage reel with them. So you can be cutting them out, layering them, making appear, and add, a trending music to it. And it's then going to be able to use those photos and show off your photography. It could be showcasing a product photo shoot, or behind the scenes shoot, a brand shoot. There's so many ways you can get creative with it. Maybe you're launching something and you've got some photos showing elements of what that product is, or you working on it, or the lifestyle someone can achieve. Things like that. Just get creative and think of it as a way of, how can I use the photography I've got, instead of normally, just sharing a photo on Instagram, I could create a collage reel. So make sure you check out that video tutorial, because I've showed how you can do it in Canva really easily. Then we have the screenshot tutorial. With this one, there's the option of getting on camera and introducing what this tutorial is about, or you can just simply do a recording of your phone or your computer and taking someone through a tutorial of how to do something. So if you've got any kind of process, something that you know how to create or do, Or even if it's not on the computer, if it's something physical, you could do a tutorial on how to make something physically too, and you're just showing your hands. So this is a great way to create content without you having to necessarily get on camera yourself, but record the process of how you do something and share with people how to do it. Now, obviously in reel format, it has to be quick and snappy, so you've really got to distill it down to those main elements. And then if it's something where people might need a little bit more detail, you might want to put in the captions, maybe links to a blog post or something where they can find, the further detail on how to do it in more depth. But this is a great way to just quickly show how to do something. And maybe there's something you can show that is quite quick to do, like maybe just a little trick on an app on your phone on how to do that. So just think about little tiny tutorials that you can show. If you don't want to get on camera, you can just simply do a voiceover or use a text-to-speech thing so that, if you don't want to use your own voice, you can just type it in and it will do the speech for you. There's plenty of ways that you can do this. And it's a really fun, engaging reel because you're teaching someone how to do something really quickly. Then finally, we have the double layered video. So if there's something that normally on Instagram in the past you would have shared as a video, maybe it's showing a video of your product. Maybe, you're showing, walking someone through how to use it. So if you've got an ebook, for example, you might be, scrolling through it on your iPad. Or if you've got a website and you want to show it scrolling through the website, if you want to showcase a website you've designed. Or if you've got a physical product and you've got a video just showing off that product, instead of just doing that full screen video, what you can do is a double layered video. Basically, you got a video of the product or any other kind of video you want to create, and then you've got a background video. So this background video, obviously you don't want it to be too distracting, so it's more of a textured video. So again, it could be something like some fabric moving or a shadow, something really simple that's not going to distract too much, but it just adds more layers and it just makes it a little bit more interesting. And it's a way to get more creative with reels and your videos and showcase things in a more dynamic and interesting way. This also allows you to add extra text detail. So you've got the video of, the main thing that you're showing off. And then on the textured background video, you can also be adding text and more detail. So rather than just having that single video of that product, by having that textured background around it, it allows you to add some extra elements like text. So you can say things like launching soon, you can give more details, things like that. So it just gives you a little bit more extra room to add extra information. So I hope this gave you lots of ideas. There's so many different ways you can create reels. You don't have to be getting on camera, talking, dancing, or pointing. There's so many other ways you can make reels, and some of these you can create quite quickly too. And if you'd like extra help creating some of these, I do have some templates to help you. I've got some really cool templates to create some of these reels so you can create them so fast. You can just be putting in your quotes, dropping in a video, and you're done. You can create something super quickly, and it's a great way to stay consistent, keep putting stuff out there and not feeling like, oh, I've got to try and set up to create these videos and all these things. You can create some content really quickly, really easily, and have something that's going to do really well. Now, if you'd like to learn more about graphic design, branding, and creativity, then be sure to subscribe to this channel, and I will see you next time.